Ground Zero and everything we do.
My Patriot Supply is America's leading emergency preparedness company and believe it's every person's patriotic duty to achieve true freedom from our world's increasingly unreliable and fragile systems. The best way to do this is to invest in your personal liberty, because you can't rely on governments or corporations for the basics of life. Act now and secure at least a 4-week emergency food kit full of tasty meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. They have dozens of emergency food storage kits to choose from, along with a variety of survival products. Despite these difficult times, My Patriot Supply has kept their commitment to you with well-stocked emergency supplies. They will deliver them quickly and discreetly with friendly 24/7 customer service. Stay alert and prepared, friends. Let everyone else take tomorrow for granted. Go to preparewithgroundzero.com. That's preparewithgroundzero.com.
Do you want to know why your inalienable rights are so vital in these uncertain times? Check out the Unsuppressed podcast on aftermath.media. Join Wes, Bill, Patrick, and Avery as they discuss the fundamentals of urban and wilderness survival, disaster preparedness, gear discussions, and so much more. Check it out with your premium Aftermath subscription, and make sure you stay unsuppressed.
Gentlemen, I brought you here to discuss the Eastwood problem. It may be necessary to penetrate the Vinny Eastwood show. The Vinny Eastwood show. Yeah, that's what I said.
Well, I've been working on a new Vinny scene. I think that might be the kind of penetration we need.
The Vinny Eastwood show. Sundays, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Live on Ground Zero Radio. Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and hermaphrodites. My fellow slaves of the global plantation. The Vinny Eastwood show is bad news. It's like the news, but so much worse. It's the lighter side of genocide. Just because we're being exterminated doesn't mean we can't enjoy it. Otherwise, what's the point of being killed? The Vinny Eastwood Show, where the only thing worse than living in a high-tech global police state run by child trafficking Satanists is Vinny's jokes.
And welcome to another exciting episode of the one and only Vinny Eastwood Show. We have a lot of things going on right now in your life, in my life, and in the world around us, and it's very stressful, and stress causes 90% of all illness, they say. And so we are working towards a better future. Yes, this is true, but how much damage are we doing to ourselves whilst we are trying to get to that better future? Are we taking care of ourselves? Is somebody taking care of us? What it's that whole concept of true care. It needs to be taken into account, both for yourself and those around you. And that's what the people who run the world don't really seem to possess, at least in overwhelming abundance, is the propensity to care for their fellow man. And that kind of has an effect on you, raise your hand if in the last few years you didn't lose control of your life for between 1 and 6 months. Every hand goes up. So the thing is, we're all traumatized by what we've been through. All of us. It's mental illness, right? Mental illness isn't like the thing. It's, if you've ever seen a rescue dog, my neighbour's got a rescue dog that just barks all the time, seemingly no reason. The poor little guys are traumatised, so you make allowances and stuff like that. And of course I asked him, is that dog getting old now? He's like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay. And he's like hoping he might pass away soon, and so that I don't have the barking all the time. And then of course they get another rescue dog, a younger one who's even more traumatised. You try, you do what you can to hope for the best, and it just, dang it. And that's what these past few years seem to have been like for a lot of people. You talk to people in the what was I in the mall the other day, wearing my Billy TK River of Lies T-shirt. That for those of you who are watching on the live streams on the Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube can see on screen, and struck up a conversation with this guy whose father was actually a doctor, and he started telling me some information there. So this whole dynamic really has affected everybody in a very severe manner, a manner which people might not actually realize has happened to them, and maybe don't have anybody who understands what they're going through internally, and maybe that because everybody else has got their own problems going internally, right? Like, if you have a bad relationship with your family because your parents were abusive, it might be because you felt betrayed, that you weren't taken care of, like a brother or a sister or something like that, because your brothers or sisters had other stuff going on that they had to deal with, right? You can see the root cause of this. And it's the same thing when it comes to being traumatized by the state and the system. It has a resonating effect on you, and it will change behaviors that you ordinarily once had. The amount of people that I've spoken to who I think were really top of their game, people in event management or running restaurants and things of that nature, legitimate businesses where they were performing top in their field and they really enjoyed it. And each of those people no longer does that anymore. Why not? Well, the common thread is somebody came into that industry who ruined it for them. Just spoiled it, How many filmmakers have there been, who make big, Hollywood movies, who just quit filmmaking all of a sudden because of a bad experience they had on set with a particular work experience. It just leaves a sour taste in your mouth. Now imagine that we've got a sour taste in our mouth with practically everything and everybody, because everything was affected by this. Everybody was affected by it. And everybody felt that persecution, that mind control, brainwashing of the general population. It might have just been theoretical before, but now it was real. And that's a scary and terrible thought. Just kind of like on 9/11, where suddenly everybody started to believe that there was real scary terrorism about, and it could just strike anywhere at any time and make NORAD stand down and have Israeli shipping companies moving out of the World Trade Center and breaking their lease in order to do that. Just little things that traumatize people, all right? For 6 weeks, the Russians said, if you broadcast a threat, some world-ending threat, for 6 weeks, repeatedly, you will trigger a shift in the personality of the population, okay? And you know what I'm talking about, because you've been through it. You saw how people changed. People you thought you could trust. People you thought you could rely on. People you thought would have your back. People you thought would listen to you. People you thought you could help. You see? That's traumatizing. And we have such a low consciousness level in society that even the traumatized people that realize what was going on are not being listened to, they're not being cared for, all right? Just, you're safe, you're loved, and everything's going to be all right. Just repeat that to yourself. And repeat it to yourself, pat yourself on the back and say, good on you, you survived another day. Good on you, you got through all of that and still retained your sense of humor. But The more important thing is the actual mechanics of how this trauma works on you, because it'll affect your body, it'll affect your mind, and it might affect what people call the spirit. And you've got a rewiring of threat assessment. Your brain assesses threats with the three different parts of the brain. There's the prefrontal cortex, the primate brain. This is what does your thinking. Black and white, numbers, the mechanics of situations. You're able to read that. Then the second part of the brain, the mammalian cortex, is what governs your feelings, how you relate to other people and how you pick up on their vibes and things of that nature. And then there's the third part, which is the reptilian cortex. That is your fight or flight, or freeze, submit, and attach. You've noticed people during that whole a couple of years who would freeze, submit, or attach themselves to their tyrant, to their oppressor, to their ideology. All right, it's specifically crafted that way to traumatize people and to give them an aura of endless threat, so that those two other parts of your brain, what you really feel and what you really think, get shut down in favor of a reptilian brain response. So that's mind control, but if you've been going under mind control for a particular period of time, you will find that it's actually addictive. All right, how people were just obsessed with the subject matter, couldn't stop talking about it, talking to everybody about it, because they're actually addicted to that trauma. All right? And your brain rewires itself so that those first two parts of the brain, when it comes to assessing any threats, don't work. How it's supposed to work is somebody tells you of a threat or shows you some evidence of it. Your prefrontal cortex, your primate brain kicks in. It starts running the numbers. It starts looking at the black and whites. It starts fact-checking. Once the facts are confirmed or denied or something, your brain will then have an emotional response to it. How do I feel about this? Am I starting to feel a little bit perhaps afraid? Of course there's threat here, and there's nothing wrong with feeling fear. It's a natural emotion. And then after you've assessed that emotional state, then the threat becomes real, and you have to do something about it. Are you going to run from it? Are you going to deny it? That kind of thing. There's a whole trauma cycle bond, which we'll get to in a minute. And that is how the brain is supposed to work. But if you've been suffering under these conditions and having everybody turn against you and having relentless propaganda pummeling down the radios and the TVs and the news feeds and getting text messages at 6 o'clock in the morning with a big loud emergency beep telling you about new stuff going on, your brain's not going to function normally anymore. You're going to perceive a threat. You're even just going to think about a threat, and your body will immediately go into fight or flight mode. Your heart rate will start up, your adrenaline will start pumping, and you're going to be able to react to things. Okay? Somebody says that's what they call being triggered. All right? And if you were awake during these last couple of years, you probably have now some triggers. And we could have a conversation for even just a minute or two. And if I say some propaganda that the government is peddling and repeating it as if it's my own opinion, your body's going to start to go into fight or flight mode, because you are perceiving a threat to your life. All right? If somebody says this thing's safe and effective, you go into a threat response. Like as in you're ready, your body is ready. It's readying you up to kill. Because as far as your body is concerned, as far as your nervous system is concerned, just those words are like somebody being in front of you with a big weapon saying that they are going to murder you. Okay? This is a big thing, because you could be walking around in an ordinary situation, and suddenly you're in frickin' Vietnam. You know, landmines going off everywhere. This is what people suffer when they come home from war, because their nervous system can't tell the difference between what it's experienced and what it's seeing now. This is why filmmaking is such a powerful medium, because you're able to trick the brain into perceiving something that isn't real and perceive it as though it is real. If you do it right, there's a science to it, a very meticulous group of principles and disciplines and things of that nature that people have to employ in order to make a movie that will successfully make you feel something. All right. The most important thing about convincing people of any kind of information is, are they feeling it? Do you feel that song? Does it make you feel something? Do you feel sad or happy? Do you feel suddenly vivacious? There's a reason for that. It's scales. There's a ancient thing that was unearthed called Yar's musical scale. And what it says is it has this spiral, like a Kundalini spiral. And on each of those legs of the spiral, there are different keys and different notes of music that are tied to your emotional centers. There's a certain type of music you can play to make people angry. There's a certain type of music you can play to make people feel like they're in love, so to speak. And as Dr. Rima Labo told me, she's supposed to be coming on the show. There might be some problem with the things other than that. I don't know what's going on, but I have a number of things to really talk to people about, considering what I've been experiencing these last few years, because it's important really to lay the groundwork sometimes, and if Rima does turn up, that'll be great. But anyway, nevertheless, as we're living through life with all these triggers and all of this unresolved trauma, because the threat's still out there, okay? Some people perceive the threat to be some sort of invisible thing that they can't see, and some people perceive the threat to be a tyrannical government that wants to enslave them and turn their children into slaves. Okay? One of those perceptions is, of course, based on reality, based on evidence, based upon fact-checking, not the fact-checking that they say. I love it how they hijack words, you know? But we are still social creatures, and if we're all triggered and we've got to work together, some self-analysis, some greater understanding needs to be come to regarding the way our brains are affected by the amount of trauma that we've been through and how that affects our interactions with other people. Once you understand it, once you've thought about it, then when those triggers start happening again, you might be able to reset your brain. I say might be able because it's a skill, like playing piano or guitar or any other kind of skill. It takes practice, it takes work to be able to control yourself in any given situation, control your responses. And even if you're really good at it, sometimes you'll still just lose it sometimes, and you won't be able to think and just check yourself. That's tough, man. Right? And I see how it affects people's relationships, what it makes people think about you with your behaviors and things of that nature. But it's just self-destructive behavior. Now, that doesn't mean that, you're just being self-destructive and doesn't legitimize your trauma. Quite the opposite, actually. These self-destructive behaviors that we engage in are actually the result of trauma. Okay, one of these dynamics is called survivor's guilt. if a lot of other people that you know are dying now or sick now or something of that nature because they took something you didn't, that you knew was a bad idea and they didn't, you get survivor's guilt. And that's going to make you want to punish yourself in various ways, through pain, through stress, through trauma, through ill health. There's a part of you that wishes you suffered too, like everybody else, even though it's completely crazy. You do, and your body remembers this. And it'll cause you with these coping strategies to poison yourself, poison your relationships, and destroy your life and the fabric that actually holds your life together, which is people. Okay? And that's this whole trauma response that we're going through right now, as we're destroying ourselves and we're destroying each other because we feel some kind of terrible injustice, and terrible injustice has been visited upon us in a way that we couldn't just stop. That's the difference. Maybe when people are home invaded, for example, they get traumatized in a particular manner. What if there's two types of home invasion? One is in a small town in America that is mandatory gun ownership, okay? And so you wouldn't get any home invaders in the first place because everybody knows that everybody's armed. But let's say they did come in and you were able to point a weapon at them, and just the production of a weapon means that robber would rather run out and try and save their own life. How much trauma do you get as the person who's defending your home because you're able to stop that person without even any bloodshed, right? Probably a little bit less than if you were completely unarmed and you couldn't stop that robber. And what if that robber did something to you or to the people you loved? How long's that trauma going to last? And it's going to last a much longer time. Why? Because you were defenseless. You couldn't stop what was happening to you. And this is about preparation. Your mind, as Stuart Swerdlow from expansions.com once told me on the show. In fact, the computer I'm using, meanwhile, while my studio's computer's being repaired, was given to me by one of Stuart Swerdlow's followers, because I had Stuart on the show, and I needed a new computer at the time, and the guy just happened to live down the road from me, and he got me a whole brand new Mac computer for on his company. It's like, wow. You know, the amount of gratitude that I have for all the people that support the show and all the various ways they do it. So your family interactions, your social interactions, and even the way that you think, okay, has been corrupted by the experience that you've gone through, right? Really just corrupted by it. Like how a hard drive can get corrupted. The files that are supposed to be there ain't there anymore. You've lost a part of yourself. Some part of you has actually been destroyed. You've tried very hard to retain, who you are, but that person is gone. Who you are and who you were are not the same thing anymore, because of the experience that you've gone through. And that isn't necessarily a bad thing. The most valuable lessons in life will be those that cost you the most. If you have traumas in your past, it enables you certain abilities. Okay? Somebody's coming up at you with a stick, and if you're a traumatized person, you can immediately react to it. What do untraumatized people do when threats are coming at them? They start thinking about it for a second, and then they start feeling, oh my God, and then by the time they've actually reacted, they're dead. Okay? This is a survival tool that you've been given. These triggers and all of these other things that could be construed as mental illness are simply a heightened sense of survival arousal, if you will. Your sense of wanting to live has been aroused, and it has a very, very sensitive trigger, because you can immediately perceive and you can immediately react to threats about you. That's what this trauma actually has done for you, not to you. It's done it for you. You are evolving and you are changing, and that is painful. The pain you're going through, if you're strong enough to bear it and bear the responsibility of the load that is upon your shoulders, will enhance your ability to not only defend yourself, but the ability to help others. Because if you can manage what you're going through, and you couldn't once do that, you're then capable over time of helping other people. Little bits, here and there. Everybody's got their own responsibilities and their own stuff that they have to get in order, of course. And so you can't take responsibility for other people's actions. You can take responsibility for your own, and that's about it. Everybody else you can help if they want it. It's all down to choice. What do I do with this trauma that's been given to me? Well, I could drink a lot to help me sleep at night. I could smoke a lot. I could play lots of video games. I could watch lots of porn. I could endlessly binge watch television. I could eat really terrible fast foods. I could do all sorts of things other than heal from that trauma, other than learn how to manage it, other than learn how to understand it. Understanding what's happening to you and what has happened to you is just as important as the information and factoids you'll get on the news, because those information and factoids can inform you about what your next choice logically should be. But if you can't control yourself and you don't know what's actually happened to you on a deep root level, I could give you all the answers in the world. Anybody could give you all the answers in the world to any question you've ever asked, but you'd be unable to hear them, or you'd be unable to comprehend them, because you don't have control of yourself. You don't have your shit together. All right? And I'm talking about me as well. I'm not perfect. You know? None of us are. But we do have to take responsibility for the harm that we cause other people through our actions. Even if we didn't mean it, even if we made a mistake or something like that, harmful actions against other people need rectifying. You know, usually as soon as possible. Because if you have a terrible conversation with me, if I say something really mean to you that actually hurts your feelings, and I let you sit with that, you will think about it all day. You won't be able to sleep that night because you'll be sitting there tossing and turning, you know, either in anger or sadness or whatever. And you won't be able to sleep because your conscience is wrestling with you. But what if I said that really mean and hurtful thing and then immediately stopped myself and said, I'm so sorry, you know, and then gave you something and paid some penance or did something for you to show you, right, that I actually am sorry, genuinely. The chance that you're going to go to bed tossing and turning that night and not be able to sleep is greatly reduced. The chance that you will be carrying anger and frustration around with you all day and all night is reduced, if not eliminated entirely. Wouldn't that be lovely if everybody took that kind of responsibility for their own actions and did it in the moment? All right? That's what's important, doing things right then and there, realizing where the present moment is. Oh, it's right here, it's right now, isn't it? Yes. And this is where the work has to be done. Right here, right now. That's your job. I can't believe how many people are, I think, consistently not in the moment. They are not thinking about what they're doing. They are only thinking about what they're gonna do. They're not thinking about how they feel right now. They're thinking about how they're going to feel in a couple of days when some stressful thing is going to be happening or whatever. All right? It's all about the perception. If you're capable of perceiving a better reality, you're capable of manifesting it. Right? There's so many things that influence your perception of reality, particularly around other people. You get anybody who's argumentative, all right? Somebody who's passive-aggressive, somebody who's goes on and on and on and sort of like browbeats you with details and things like that. Your brain doesn't like that, okay? It picks up on the vibe. Right, and people use this term vibe, loosely and stuff like that. I'm not talking about it loosely. I'm talking about it quite literally, vibrations. Right, it's like Nikola Tesla. It's all about vibrations and frequency. And love has its own vibration. Fear has its own vibration. Love goes. It's a very intense, highly reactive emotion. Fear goes doom, doom, doom. It's slow in its undulation. It doesn't have a whole lot of activity to it. It slows things down. It shuts things down as opposed to activating them, right? Imagine you've got two people in a room. And one of them is full of love and energy and enthusiasm, and the other one is full of hate and anger and aggression, right? Which one are you going to want to talk to? Which one makes you feel better to be around? Okay? Now, this isn't to say that darkness is not necessary. It absolutely is necessary. Because when you're up against somebody who is actually a real threat, if you're unable to respond with a level of force that is necessary to get them to stop what they're doing, you're not in accordance with natural law. You do have to be dangerous. But the difference is figuring out what is a threat and what is not, how to react appropriately and how not to. That's why in the Bible they say the meek shall inherit the earth, and the translation of the Greek word into meek was actually about a guy who had a very sharp sword and knew exactly how to use it, but keeps it sheathed. Knowing when to use the terrible skills at your disposal and knowing when to hold back, when to control yourself. Because we've all been in frustrating situations, and wouldn't it be lovely if every time that we're in a frustrating situation, we could just lash out and be hurtful or destroy or something like that and have no consequence for it whatsoever? If you lived in a world like that, imagine the people who run the world right now, how much trauma and hurt and viciousness that they inflict upon mankind as a whole. And they have no consequence for it. None. They're still getting on planes because they've got private planes. They don't want to stand in line at an airport like you. They've still got really clean food. Of course they do. They're not going to eat the poisoned, processed, and chemically fertilized crap that you do. They've got their protection from EMF and Wi-Fi, and stuff like that. Got their crap hard line because they don't want to be living in a world full of radiation that's affecting their cells like you do. They've got their whole life planned out in order to avoid the consequences of the actions that they perpetrate on us. all the health practices they go through and things of that nature. And yet, they still die. Just like every other human being that's ever been born. Eventually, you're not living anymore. And that version of you that's been birthed into this reality is gone. And you might go off to become another version later on and come back as something else or someone else. Now, if that's the case, that means there has to be some kind of purpose here, right? If there's no purpose to your life, there's no impetus to fulfill that purpose, is there? If you don't know what you want to do, if you don't know who you really are, if you don't know how to do it, if you figured it out, then what is the point of living? Right? Suicide is way big now, you know? It's like the Beatles in the 1960s, you know, huge. And depression, people losing their motivation, burning themselves out. Dude, we are unhealthy as a society, and a society that is healthy, the Greeks had a saying that it's the mother's job to take care of the child when the child cannot take care of themselves, and it's the father's job to teach the child how to take care of themselves when they're able to do it. Okay? Simple as that. It's passing on self-sufficiency in terms of teaching. There's 100,000 rules. 100,000 rules in order for you to be born and grow up and operate in society without causing immense problems. 100,000 rules. And we learn them very slowly over time. This is what we call growing up. And you ever notice people who do stupid things and if somebody tells them to grow up, you see? That's what's going on here. We're completely immature as a society. We're immature as people because we haven't been raised properly. And raising doesn't mean feeding you and changing your socks in the morning and doing your washing. Raised means about your consciousness. You have to raise your level of awareness. Raise your level of education about things. Raise your levels of sophistication. That's what raising means. This is how you turn children into adults. And because the vast majority of adults, or at least adult-aged people, have not been raised in their consciousness, have not had mentors show them the way things are and how to navigate a storm and be able to step between the raindrops without getting wet. We haven't had that. There's some amazing people in this world who have very important lessons to teach people, and that's what I've been doing on this show for so many years. Longer than I've ever done anything else in my life, that's for sure. Because everything else in my life, working for somebody, doing one particular job and one particular task, didn't interest me. It's not hard enough. It's not complicated enough. It's not important enough. And you might have that same realization yourself too one day. And you realize that actually my life isn't challenging me and I'm stagnating. I want to do something that's actually worth my time and attention. Those are the two spiritual currencies. If you're listening to this right now, you are giving me your time. You are giving me your attention. And I am extremely grateful for it. And I hope, that there might be one of you listening to this broadcast that will hear something at a particular time in your life, the exact thing you needed to hear, right when you needed to hear it. And this will trigger a realization, a Kundalini awakening, which is also the name of my favorite pasta meal, but I digress. And you will be able to change one thing in your life that makes you better, or at least on the road to being a better person. Okay? People think that I'm arrogant sometimes because I think that I'm better than them or whatever. It's just like, no, it's not arrogance, it's evidence. I can prove that I'm better than people. Okay? There's a lot of people in this world who are better than me, and I bow down to them. My God. So, if you've done more for the truth, if you've done more for people, if you've exercised more of your brain and accomplished more things, that is what makes you a better person. It's not just what you've done and who you are, right? People think that you've always thought you were better than somebody because of how you were born or where you were born or what you were taught when you grow up. Yeah, and people often go into that fallacious way of thinking, right? Because they have an identity problem. Is they think that they can identify themselves entirely by themselves without anybody else criticizing them or giving them insight into what they see that you perhaps don't. Right? It's your work, your opus, that makes you better than who you were yesterday and makes you better than most of the people that are walking around this earth asleep, unraised, immature, brainwashed, mind-controlled, poisoned, and sedated. If that's not happening to you, you are better than them. Okay? It's not even a matter of argument. You are. But that doesn't give you any more rights than they do. It doesn't give you a right to tell them what to do or to treat them mean or anything like that. I remember one time I caught myself, and you may have experienced this, just driving down the road and you see somebody, just an ordinary person, and you make an immediate judgment about their health. You start thinking about how much fluoride they had to drink this morning, how much fast food they eat, how much TV they watch, so on and so. You make these judgments that maybe, while accurate, man, you see some of the people walking around today, oh my goodness, judgment's not a bad thing, okay? It's how we go and navigate through life. But you get a little bit up yourself about it because you know these things and perhaps that person doesn't. And the key here, and the key difference between somebody who actually is really good and somebody who's just arrogant, is the person who's actually really good will listen to you criticize them, will listen to you telling them things that they don't know, and apply it in their life. Right? You ever have a conversation with somebody about a particular subject that you disagree with them on and you've got evidence and you're prepared to listen to their evidence, but they're not prepared to listen to yours because they've got some kind of religious faith about it and they can't allow it to be questioned because they've got a great excuse to not have to think anymore because they've got all the answers already? Okay? That's arrogance versus actually being really good and can back your stuff up. I don't have a lot of time for people who do that because it's stressful, right? It is stressful trying to talk to somebody who ain't listening. And when you have suffered trauma and complex post-traumatic stress, talking to people who ain't listening really isn't worth your time. And it's probably not that great for you. Not that good for your consciousness. Not a good spending of your time. So if people enjoy this show and the knowledge and the wisdom that's on display from the guests that we have here, if it gives you a deeper understanding of what you're going through, and that deep understanding actually helps you get through the day. I mean, I remember V from the Red Pill Hardcore broadcast, who's created a social media platform, TLB Talk, and he used to listen to the Vinny Eastwood show before he went to bed every night. Okay? Not because it's so boring that it puts you to sleep. Well, I mean, some people might think so. But anyway, the reason why he would do that is because he was a gang stalked, all right? What you might call a targeted individual. Somebody who has advanced technological means that the government has at their disposal for mind control and for stress and stuff like that. And they've been testing these things and these techniques on the population for a long time to perfect them. All right, these people aren't anything special. They're not tied to some group or anything like that. They're just an ordinary person doing their thing, and all of a sudden really weird stuff starts happening to them and keeps happening to them, and there's always people there, and they get no sleep, and it's freaking relentless. They're hearing voices beamed into their head, targeted individuals, man. It's a scary thing. And he listened to the Vinny Eastwood show before he went to bed each night because it got him into a good headspace so he could sleep, And I've experienced this myself, I understand how other listeners feel about the show and the way that I run things, because I'll sit back and I'll listen to one of my own shows. Very occasionally these days I'll do that. And at the end of the show, I'm just like, I feel better. And I hope that other people experience that too, that listening to the show actually makes you feel better. It raises your vibration. It gives you motivation. It feels like a warm hug in audio format, that this chocolate Kiwi accent can just, it just does it for you. And I like the idea that that could be a thing that happens, because that's what we're all really here to do at the end of the day. It's like the Māori in New Zealand say, what's most important in life? It's people, it's people, it's people. And you people are all very important. You are. The mods, the producer of my show, Mike, and even the people who've been involved in the shows past, like my former producer Mitch Santel and Danny Romero, who gave me my show on American Freedom Radio. Really brought the Vinny Eastwood show to the airwaves, and my first co-host Will Ryan, and from New Zealand 9/11 Truth back in the day, or activists like Penny Bright, who had a 40-year activism career and deemed me worthy of her time to teach me the inner workings of local government and how to protest it and things of that nature. It's just thousands and thousands of people, guys. Right? You're not talking to Vinny Eastwood, who's just this person. Right? You're talking to thousands and thousands of people's really intimate knowledge about things that go on in this world that not many are privy to simultaneously. All right? Even I'm amazed by some of the stuff that I know, some of the knowledge that's been shared with me that I didn't have to do years of research to find out. You just talk to people who've done years of research, and they give you the gold. Just gold. It's the best way to learn. I think maybe it's because it's the most ancient way to learn. The thing that our brain is really attuned to do is to learn through talking and listening. Really? You learn the most through having conversations. And there's two types of journalism. There's the kind of journalism where you research a person, you research their life, you research what other people have written about them, and then you write what you think and what you can prove. All right? Very important, because it puts ducks in a row, as it were. And that's doing deep research. Now, the other type of journalism is when you're doing deep research whilst you're engaged in deep conversation with the person you're doing the story about. You really sit there and you talk with this person, and you try to understand them, you try to get where they're coming from, you try to understand the context of how they came to be, and the real meat and potatoes of what it is they're talking about and what it is they mean by that, the thing that they said. So we have a problem in our society where people think that doing the deep research alone or having the conversations alone give you the full picture. And I would say that it's probably a spectrum and a balance between those two where the truth truly lies. And so I'd like to give everybody a little bit of a pat on the back, you know. Think about all you've been through, think about all you survived, think about all the changes that you've gone through in your life in order to get to this point, or the things that you've survived, the things that have been done to you, the things that have been done by other people, and the things that you've done for other people, all the nice, wonderful, caring, and beautiful things you do for people. Yeah. Give yourself a pat on the back. Give yourself a bit more credit. All right? I'm like the Bank of Israel. I only give credit when it's due. Speaking of which, can you donate to the Vinny Eastwood Show.com? That's the VinnyEastwoodShow.com. That's Vinny with a Y, because it's the most important question. And Eastwood, like, go ahead. Make my news. And if you scroll down on the homepage there is also a donate tab as well. But if you're in New Zealand and you want to support the show, go through Kiwi Bank and start up an automatic payment today. Just buy me a cup of coffee a week, or buy me a Lexus a week, whatever you can afford. Really, because anything that happens here on this show, just trying to help people get through the day. Okay? The day is a very difficult thing to get through sometimes, and I'd like to think that I'm able to help with that. The reason why I think I can is because I validate how you feel. I validate what you've gone through. Okay? Yes, it did happen, and yes, it's for the reasons that you think. You're not crazy. The people who did this to you are crazy. Okay? You're legit. You're valuable. And all the people who've rejected you and been mean to you and betrayed you don't deserve your attention anymore. All those people who say it can't happen, won't happen, and just ignore the things that you're saying, don't need you to talk to them anymore. Okay? You're done. You're enough. And once you start realizing that, that's when your tribe will appear. If you're the student, there's an old saying that when the student is ready, the master will appear. So if you make a decision to support this show or to start your own or anything, let me know. Okay? I want to thank you. I was on a show in the Netherlands the other day. A guy who started his show because he heard me encouraging him on my show. Right? And that's what I like about this gig, is I get so much work accomplished and I'm not even the one doing it. I can just inspire people. I can just give them hope. I can help them get through the day. I can help them get better at what they're doing. I can help them start things that they were previously too afraid to start. That's a very important skill, especially in the amount of doom and gloom and frustration, which is all totally legitimate. But it's legitimate inside of a context. Okay? That's what I try to provide on this show. A place that makes you feel safe and loved and warm and cuddled. Okay? That's basically that's basically the bedside manner of the Vinny Eastwood show. Now, we've got a Patreon open as well, guys. So please search for Vinny Eastwood show on Patreon and click the little patron button and give us a few bucks a month on there. And if you have already donated, I want you to click on the homepage of the Vinny Eastwood show, and it says click here for your special rewards. All right, you can get the ability to contact me directly. You can give me a phone call, and if you've got a movie project or a website that you want to get up, or you want to start a podcast, or anything that I can do, and I can do everything pretty much in terms of the vein of entertainment and the creation of content, and I don't care if the content that you want to create has nothing to do with the quote-unquote truth. All right? Don't care. If you've got any project that you want, it doesn't matter whether it's knitting, or if you have to live stream it and archive it and have a website for it, be able to edit it, knowing where to upload it and how to get all of this stuff done. It took me years upon years upon years of trial and error to get all this stuff done, and I can figure out how to do it nowadays in hours. All right? You can use me to save you thousands and thousands of hours of trial and error. Point at this, click that, drag that in there. There's no jargon. It's just very straightforward. The world has been destroyed by two types of people: nerds and professionals. Okay? And the reason why they have destroyed the world is for the same reason. They make what they do sound so complicated as to make you think that it's impossible or just too hard for you to do yourself, so you would rather pay somebody else to do it perpetually. No! That is not going to work for me, I'm afraid. I'm going to teach you how to do it, and I'm going to teach you once in a way that is so repetitive but so fun at the same time that not only will you generate positive thoughts and memories of your learning experience and make you motivated to keep doing it, but you would have done it in such a manner that you won't forget it, that it's actually locked in to muscle memory. You will save thousands of hours of time, and if you wanted to pay somebody else to do this for you, you would be charged hundreds of times as much. Okay, so if you want to contact the Vinny Eastwood show, if you've got any idea that you've sketched on a napkin or that you've been thinking about for a while and haven't done anything about, and you'd rather just, have somebody who knows exactly what they're doing, who can teach you exactly what they know in record time and give you the independence to go out there and just do it and not need anybody's help anymore to fulfill that vision that's in your head. All right, just contact me. We'll suss you out. It's really, it's like easy for me. People say that, oh yeah, but I'm technophobic, Vinny, or something like that. It's like, that's my bread and butter. Nobody comes out round wanting to learn all the technical stuff if they already know how to do it. But of course you don't know what you're doing. Of course you don't know what you're talking about. Luckily, somebody does and is willing to share that knowledge with you in a fun way. In a way that you will retain that knowledge. In a way that gives you the independence of no longer needing somebody to dot your I's and cross your T's and wipe your nose and wipe your bum for you. All right? You're going to be completely independent, and you're going to go out there and you're going to do it just to the best of your ability. And then it's all just down to consistency and practice. And that part is on you. It's all very well for somebody to give you enlightenment, but if you don't do nothing with it, you're wasting your time. Don't waste your time. Don't waste mine. Take it seriously. Do something about it. Invest in yourself. Invest in your future. Invest in your ideas. All right? All your ideas are outside of consciousness. All right? Well, outside of consciousness. They're outside of the 3D dimension. All right? We're in a box. Okay? How do you know? Up, down, left, right, depth, front. Okay? That's how we know we're living in a 3D universe. But there's another layer above that, which is time. All right? It's the box moving through time. And there's another layer above that, which is the box beyond time and space. And that's where all your thoughts are right now while you're listening to me. All the things that have yet to be expressed, all the things that you've yet to be created, all the things that you've yet to do are outside of the 3D and the 4D. They're in the 5D. And this allows you to skip ahead of what is capable of in accomplishing in time and space. All right? You have an idea and you spend your time willing it into this 3D space. Only once you've done that with your ideas can other people who co-inhabit this 3D space can see them, hear them, feel them, touch them, taste them. Whatever you're creating, you might be a chef, a mechanic, or a computer programmer. It doesn't matter. Getting your ideas that don't yet exist manifest into reality is the purpose for which you were born. And if you don't do it, you will become resentful of the people you see doing it. That's why it's very important to make your dreams reality, rather than let them die, because you die with them. So dream and work on those dreams. Get yourself together. And as always, give yourself a little pat on the back. You did it. You got through another episode of the Vinny Eastwood Show. I'm traumatized. Yes! And we will see you again next time at the VinnyEastwoodShow.com. I'd like to thank my sponsors. Where are my sponsors? Yeah, Reopen.nz, a directory of anti-mandate pro-choice businesses in New Zealand. So if you go to Reopen.nz, if you're a Kiwi business, add your freedom business today to that list. And another thing that I've been talking about a lot lately with people is naturopathic care, especially from HoldenHealthCare.com. That's emphasis on the care. And David is a naturopathic doctor, a nutritional biochemist, an oncologist, and he specializes in hard-to-treat cases. He told me one time, Vinny, it all comes down to a choice. If you're sick, all right, and you've gone through this medical ringer who give you drug after drug with side effect after side effect, they're just killing you, basically. And naturopathic care, on the other hand, and nutritional biochemistry recognizes the basic principle that your body is built upon, that it can repair itself, provided you give it the right tools. And that is the choice. You can either A, continue around going the unhealthy, self-destructive path that you're doing, which will lead to pain and your demise, or you can change. It is a simple choice about whether or not you want to live or die. That's what David told me. And it's very humbling that he would even deem this show worthy of his sponsorship, and I'm intensely grateful for him. He's helped heal me. He's helped heal my ex-wife. and my sister, and even my dad, and stuff like that. So he's legit, as far as I'm concerned. And you have these people in your life that help you in so many different ways that it's hard to actually quantify their value to you. Like people like Billy TK, for example, riveroflies.co.nz, episode 1 of River of Lies. This is a full documentary. What's great about this documentary is during those years when we were all propagandized and we had all these talking heads telling us all sorts of things, Bill and Ted's unvaccinated adventure, they went through all of the footage and all of the news pieces and all of the quotes and things of that nature from all these people in these alleged positions of authority, and caught them all out saying one thing and then saying another, right? And when you see the compilation of all of these things back to back in episode 1 of River of Lies, you can go to riveroflies.co.nz and you can donate as well, because we're making River of Lies 2. Starring Bruce Willis. Now, that's a reference to Look Who's Talking To with Bruce Willis. This is a very dated reference, isn't it? Jesus, how old am I? I didn't mean to take the Lord's name in vain. So, guys, with that being said, the last and final thing that really need be promoted is the Vinny Eastwood Show's page on groundzero.radio. Guys, go to groundzero.radio and have a look for the shows. Start downloading the broadcasts. Really helps the network massively. I am so grateful to be on this network. This is the best network I've ever been on, and I've been on some really, really great networks. Clyde has just assembled this cast of characters, the crew that are supporting me behind the scenes and uploading these things and doing these descriptions for me and everything, so I can just do a show. That's never happened to me before. This is wonderful. They've put me up on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio. I haven't even been on these platforms before, and these guys at Ground Zero Radio have just splurged me all over the place, you know? And sounds a little bit sexual when you think about it like that. But anyway, I'm very, very grateful to the network, and I do want you guys to know that they need you to download those shows. All right, go to groundzero.radio and start downloading the MP3s, and maybe not even just my show. All right, mind you, there's plenty of other shows on the network as well that you can just go ahead and just free download those things. And then if you really appreciate the service that Ground Zero Radio provides, get that app. All right, the Ground Zero Radio app. It's great. You can be starting to listen in minutes. You know, from downloading it to doing it. I mean, maybe even less than a minute. It was extraordinary how frickin' easy, functional it is, as well as, of course, joining Aftermath.media when you become a financial contributor to Ground Zero Radio, who are getting the truth out about friggin' everything, you know? I mean, if they've got my show on their network, they must be pretty open to lots of different things, wouldn't you say? So there's all sorts of different content on there that is totally worth your time. And I wonder if... This is the other thing. I wonder if there's a place for you on the network. Have you been doing your show a really long time? Have you really proven yourself that you're just not going to give up? You know, everybody on this network has proven themselves over time, that they are self-reliant, that they get the job done. All right? And I am honored to be counted among them, as I am deeply grateful for your time and attention today. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you again sometime at the Vinny Eastwood Show.com. We're going to play a clip now, and for those of you who haven't really heard this recording all the way through the end, it's about 3 minutes about Klaus Schwab, Bill Gates, and King Charles talking about the Vinny Eastwood Show after the little intros here. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope you'll have a laugh along with us as we get subsequently exterminated by ruthless criminal sociopathic scumbaggery. Good night, everybody.
Gentlemen, I've brought you here to discuss the Eastwood problem.
It may be necessary to penetrate the Vinny Eastwood Show.
The Vinny Eastwood Show.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh, I've been working on a new Vinny scene. I think that might be the kind of penetration we need. The Vinny Eastwood Show. Sundays, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Live on Ground Zero Radio.
Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and hermaphrodites. My fellow slaves of the global plantation. The Vinny Eastwood Show is bad news. It's like the news, but so much worse. It's the lighter side of genocide. Just because we're being exterminated doesn't mean we can't enjoy it. Otherwise, what's the point of being killed? The Vinny Eastwood Show, where the only thing worse than living in a high-tech global police state run by child trafficking Satanists is Vinny's jokes.
You see, this beastly, ghastly show has been exposing our scumbaggery, which we call necessary.
Yeah, and as the World Economic Führer, I believe we should give him a little gift with a little card that says Merry Christmas from Santa Claus.
Oh yeah, we could send something through his windows. Yeah, I've been speaking with Jacinda Ardern that we need to eliminate the threat of Vinny Eastwood.
Why do you say Vinny Eastwood when it's clearly Vinny Eastwood?
Absolutely, he's a major impediment to our planet, and it's how we're going to get rid of him.
We could poison his water supply.
We've done that already.
Okay, I'm running out of ideas here. I'm sorry, I've got a lot going on. Klaus Schwab Jr. telling people that I'm some evil overlord.
Oh, that's just not true. You see, we're lifetime actors. Yes, we play the role, don't we?
But I am still glad, even if I am not really the overlord, that I have penetrated all the cabinets of the world. Penetration is big for me.
Oh, it's big for me too. I wouldn't be me if it weren't for the copious quantities of penetration. Yes, well, thank God my mother's out of the way. Otherwise, I never would have been king. Just keep to go on and on. You know, the stress of dealing with this Vinny Eastwood problem is probably what killed her. I mean, she was a very young 96, you see.